Hi, I'm Mark Wybrow and this is the Electronic Cafe, the channel for the lovers of electronic music.
And I'm Andy McNabb, so let's get started. So welcome to Electronic Cafe, episode 16. What an amazing show we have lined up for you. But first of all, I just want to thank everyone for all their feedback and great comments about the last show we did, focusing on Ultravox Mark 1. And our guest reviewers, Greg and Dean, thanks for doing a great job. In this episode, we're going to explore the career of the now legendary Alan Wilder, whose contribution to making Depeche Mode a global force just cannot be underestimated. In our hot stuff section, Mark's let me off the leash a little bit. I get to review 3 albums that I think are essential for your collection. Plus, we have one hell of a guest reviewer. I'm so chuffed about this. Vaughan George talks about an album that literally changed his life. If you don't know who Vaughan George is, you must check his YouTube channel. He is the font of all things Depeche Mode. He's also a music producer, artist, development coach, and a reviewer of piano and keyboard and synthesizer artists. His channel, which I know Mark will have a link for down here for you guys to check out if you don't know him already, also covers in-depth music production and technical analysis known as Geek Talk. But also, he's just a great guy. We're big fans of his, so thanks for your mention of us, the Electronic Cafe, in one of your most recent shows. Really appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you soon, buddy. If you want to dive into some of the great electronic music, subscribe to his channel. It's pretty cool. So that's it for an update from me. Let's dive in and have a good look at the legendary career of Mr. Alan Wilder.
For those that don't know, Alan Wilder is the classically trained keyboard player that was in Depeche Mode for 13 years, from 1982 to 1995. Alan Wilder was not one of the original members. He joined after founding member and main songwriter Vince Clarke left in 1981, following the release of the debut album Speak and Spell. For the second album, A Broken Frame, Martin Gore took over the songwriting responsibilities, and it was recorded just as a 3-piece with Martin Gore, Dave Gahan and Andy Fletcher, but Alan Wilder was hired via an advert in Melody Maker to be a touring musician on a subsequent Broken Frame tour.
We auditioned at Blackwing, usual, and all these, strange and wonderful characters showed up, and they were all, dressed up to the nines but couldn't play. And then Al came along and could play anything. We thought we'd really get him by asking him to play a bass line and a melody at the same time, and he did it. And we were like, wow, this guy's amazing.
When I went to the initial audition, it did seem very simple what they were asking me to do. Very simple one-line tunes and a bit of backing vocal. But apparently many people had struggled to do that, and I didn't.
And I think they were a bit intimidated by him as well, because he was such a good keyboard player. They were struggling playing the notes. He was just kind of, reading the newspaper and playing at the same time.
So he was in, and I think we paid him some ridiculous amount, like 100 quid a week or something. We gave him 100 quid a week for the first couple of years, till he finally turned around and was like, am I in the band?
Alan Wilder's first contribution in the studio was playing on the single Get the Balance Right. and following that he was recruited as a full-time member on the albums Construction Time Again, Some Great Reward, Black Celebration, Music for the Masses, Violator and the Songs of Faith and Devotion. As you can see, Alan Wilder was part of Depeche Mode during their imperial phase, the period where Depeche Mode were regarded to be at their commercial and creative peak, and they grew into the band that achieved worldwide domination. Over those years, Alan Wilder established himself as an integral part of the group, and he was instrumental in the band getting to the top, and he was widely regarded as the architect of the Depeche Mode sound over that period of time. However, after the Devotional Tour, the tour supporting the Songs on Faith and Devotion album, on the 1st of June 1995, Alan Wilder released a formal press statement and announced that he was leaving Depeche Mode with immediate effect.
Due to increasing dissatisfaction with the internal relations and working practices of the group, it is with some sadness that I have decided to part company from Depeche Mode. My decision to leave the group was not an easy one, particularly as our last few albums were an indication of the full potential that Depeche Mode was realising. Since joining in 1982, I have continually striven to give total energy, enthusiasm and commitment to the furthering of the group's success, and in spite of a consistent imbalance in the distribution of the workload, willingly offered this. Unfortunately, within the group, this level of input never received the respect and acknowledgement that it warrants. Whilst I believe that the calibre of our musical output has improved, the quality of our association has deteriorated to the point where I no longer feel that the end justifies the means. I have no wish to cast aspersions on any individual. Suffice to say that relations have become seriously strained, increasingly frustrating and, ultimately, in certain situations, intolerable. Given these circumstances, I have no option but to leave the group. It seems preferable, therefore, to leave on a relative high, and as I still retain a great enthusiasm and passion for music, I'm excited by the prospect of pursuing new projects. The remaining band members have my support and best wishes for anything they may pursue in the future, be it collectively or individually.
So, what prompted this? There is no mistaking that Martin Gore is the principal songwriter and he wrote all of those brilliant songs, but Alan Wilder interpreted those songs. He brought out all of the potential in these songs and he crafted and perfected the sound that gave life to Martin's songs. The press release, I feel, is typical of Alan Wilder, dignified and articulate, but if you read between the lines it is also extremely damning, and it prompts the question, why leave a band at the height of its powers? Let's take it point by point and go back to 1993. The recording of the Songs on Faith and Devotion album was a painful album to make, and relations within the band at this time were not good. The atmosphere was very claustrophobic with a breakdown of communication between the band members amongst other things. The lengthy, gruelling devotional tour following this was no better, with each band member with their own serious problems. Martin was battling alcoholism, Dave was a drug addict and Fletch was battling depression, and subsequently he had to leave the tour. It was a toxic mix and a perfect storm for sure. Alan Wilder worked extensively behind the scenes. He spent hours, days, weeks, months in production when no other band members did, and he never felt he got the recognition or the credit that he deserved. The producer Flood tellingly said Martin Gore was the ideas man, Alan Wilder was the craftsman and Dave Gahan was the attitude. There was no mention of Andy Fletcher. Does this tie in with Wilder's increasing dissatisfaction within the working practices of the group, and by him saying, I have continually striven to give total energy, enthusiasm and commitment to the furthering of the group's success, and in spite of consistent imbalances in the distribution of the workload, willingly offered this? Wilder is clearly upset at leaving and he feels that his hand was forced, and he was feeling unloved and underappreciated, and rightly so. I guess we'll never know, as Alan Wilder is too much of a gentleman to start mudslinging, and he has kept respectfully his silence to this day. Admittedly, they were all fighting their own demons at this time, but it's sad that at the time the band or management or Daniel Miller didn't pull him aside and put an arm around him and try and address these issues. Admittedly, they all had their own serious issues to deal with at the time. Perhaps they did try this, who knows. But certainly both of us at Electronic Cafe feel that from Ultra onwards there's been diminishing returns and a decline on every album from that day until now. After he left Depeche Mode, Alan Wilder was approached by Robert Smith and asked to join The Cure. Depeche Mode's tour manager at the time was Daryl Beaumont, the brother of Cure member Perry Beaumont, but Wilder respectfully declined. Outside of Depeche Mode, Alan Wilder already had his Recoil project that has had 6 albums between 1986 and 2007, collaborating with a number of artists like Moby, Tony Halliday from Curve, and Alan Wilder has put his energies into that. In addition, Alan Wilder has undertaken various production work and remix work on a number of projects. He's worked for Nitzer Ebb with Flood and Curve and Tony Halliday and Depeche Mode, but these have been few and far between, and apart from being involved in a Talk Talk tribute LP, Alan Wilder has been very quiet for a number of years. Alan Wilder, where are you? We need you.
Into the dark and feel what reaches back.
In 2010, after 16 years, Alan Wilder reunited with Depeche Mode on stage for one song, Somebody, at Depeche Mode's Teenage Cancer Trust concert at the Royal Albert Hall, and he received a rapturous welcome. Subsequently, Martin Gore has DJ'd at one of Alan Wilder's Recoil selected events. Depeche Mode fans know that there are basically two Depeche Modes, one with Alan Wilder and one after Alan Wilder. No disrespect to Peter Gordino or Christian Eigner, who have filled Alan's shoes since his departure, but we feel that the 5 albums and 23 years since his departure, apart from a few songs per album, have each given diminishing returns. That classic DNA has been missing. I first saw Depeche Mode in a small club in Basildon called Recoil's in 1981, and between us we have seen Depeche Mode on most tours over the last 40 years. If Depeche Mode announced that the next album and tour would be with Alan Wilder returning, we all know that the whole thing would blow up and go through the roof. Come on guys, pick up the phone. We can all dream, can't we? Alan Wilder, we miss you, and we'd love to see you back.
We have a very special guest tonight, Alan Wilder. First time in 16 years. Somebody to share the rest of my life, share my innermost thoughts.
So the first album I want to talk about in this super cool Hot Stuff section is an album called Seeking Thrills by the very talented Georgia. This is the second album that's been written and produced by her, and I think this is the work of a budding pop mind, and she's really finding her own kind of space on the dance floor. I think there are a few famous women drummers, but there's not many who are also songwriters, producers, headlining performers and pop stars too, like this young lady. She's 29, and I think this just sounds so fresh and exploratory. And so even though it's a second record, I think this has an ascendant energy, more almost like an audition tape. It sounds brighter and less tentative than her self-titled 2015 album. She's also the daughter of Neil Barnes from the 90s UK electronic duo Left Field, which we all love. She grew up surrounded by her father's amazing collection of electronic and international records, and she developed an early love of hip-hop and pop, particularly people like Missy Elliott. She also at some point became a London session drummer, performing alongside acts like Kate Tempest. I think this album builds from all these experiences, and George's voice, it's just got an amazing sound, and there's also a fusion of warmth of Chicago and Detroit house in this. To write this album, Georgia holed up in a home studio, studying a personal pantheon of great songwriters like Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Kate Bush. She reckons it took about 1.5 years of study to unlock her own abilities. So there's a real labour of love in this album. I think she's coming into her own as a singer. There's some couple of tracks where you feel she's been very inspired by Robin. I think Never Let You Go for me is probably the strongest song. And it never feels manufactured. It's a real project of passion, and a result, and that's a result of trial and error, I think. I think it's just someone learning to write for her own voice. And as a summer feel-good album, it's right up there. So give your ears a treat and check this out. It's Seeking Thrills by Georgia.
In a moment with you, I was just thinking about what the dance floor. I was just thinking about what the dance floor. I was just thinking about what the dance floor. I was just thinking about what the dance floor. Finally, my heart.
So the second album I want to talk about in this Hot Stuff section is an album called Noir by the mighty VNV Nation. This came on the back of 5 years after the release of Transnational. This was out in 2018. It's their 10th studio album. It combines future and synth pop elements with kind of retro 80s style and instrumental experiments. And I think Ron Harris's melancholic and calm voice, it kind of leads the listener through dark places, very opposing forces such as light and darkness, peace and war, life and death, love and hate are intertwined in an internal conflict. The religious implications in the lyrics really add to the sombre atmosphere and make listening to these 13 songs almost like a transcendental experience. It's awesome, and I love most of the tracks in it. I think there's one track called All Our Sins, which is very aligned to the theme throughout this album, both in terms of lyrics and pace. The lyrics invoke dramatic images of the Last Judgment, where all sins are either punished or forgiven, announced by fanfares who seem to represent the opening of the gates of heaven or hell. I think those who love a typical VMV Nation album, this is brilliant. It's a solid album. I'd recommend it to everyone, and especially people who have to dwell on both the cryptic and meaningful lyrics and just being chanted by Ronan Harris's haunting voice. I love VMV Nation. I think they're a really cool band. So check this album out. It's noir. Love it. It's really cool. And the third and final album I want to talk about in the Hot Stuff section is the brilliant Night Chances by the awesome Baxter Jury. I love this guy. Obviously, he had a legend of a dad in Ian. But I think Baxter's carving his own sort of history, and for me, doing a brilliant job of it. This album really focuses on promiscuity, insecurity, and the thrill of modern dating. I think the narrative in this album is so fully realised, it almost feels like a concept album, even if that wasn't Baxter's intention. I think lyrically, Jury treats this album like a documentary film. It gives each character a close-up and shining light on the dirty reality of romance. Whether it's the dry, cracked lips of the gorgeous fashionistas on Sleep People, or the female heavy breathing that punctuates Samurai, mimicking the sound of a woman reaching climax. The listeners run into close proximity with the action, becoming wrapped up in the drama, similar to a voyeur. You find yourself unable to turn away, the sordid almost becoming alluring. I think what I love about this, tying in with its lyrical bleakness and illicitness, the Night Chances opts for a darker, more sensual sound. Tracks like Carla's Got a Boyfriend retains a laid-back affair, exposing the character's deepest vulnerabilities. There's like a languid guitar, a funky bass line, and Jury's half-spoken Cockney howl or growl, contrasting with the airy female vocal in the chorus. And the latter acts as a foil to the tough guy bravado. It captures the muddiness of the mind when it comes to love, the certainty fighting with the lingering doubt, dancing in her head like a tune. I think this is Jury's most accomplished work. I think its self-awareness and innate understanding of the genre and language. I think it just shows Baxter really much in the prime of his creativity. It's only just over 30 minutes long. That's the only downside I have of this album, because it's brilliant. I just love the lyrics. I mean, it's well structured. Definitely worth checking out. I say this is Night Chances by the brilliant Baxter Jury.
Trying to feel it. Trying to be it.
Ce n'est pas mon problème, je ne suis pas ton chien. Ce n'est pas mon problème, je ne suis pas ton chien.
Hi Mark, hi Andy, and hello to everyone here at the Electronic Cafe. I hope you're all doing really well. And Mark and Andy have asked me to talk about an electronic album that has really been important to me as a person, or influenced my life. Now, as a lover of electronic music, I can mention quite a few, but there is one that really pops to the front of my mind as an album that I do not only rate as a masterpiece as far as a piece of art is concerned, but also this album is very important to me because it really got me into music and influenced my life decisions that got me to the point I am now. And that is, which is probably not a surprise to many of you, will be Depeche Mode's Violator. Now, this is a groundbreaking album for many, many reasons. And this album to me does highlight and sort of showcase a band at the top of their game. It's really grown up. This album ticks every box, as far as lyrical content, mood, atmosphere, vibe. Absolutely everything is present on this album. And in fact, when I'm coaching, up and coming producers or students, I always get them to listen to this, because even if you're not doing this type of music, there is a lot we can learn from this album, because it just really, as I say, it is the embodiment of a perfect electronic album as far as I'm concerned. And how I got into Depeche Mode was by chance, really. My introduction to Depeche Mode was quite abrupt. I remember it was back in 1990, I think, and I was a big Roxette fan. And I know Roxette just released their song, It Must Have Been Love, for the, the Pretty Woman movie. Anyway, so I was after that song, and the only way I could get hold of that song was to purchase a compilation album. And I remember that compilation album, it had like Kylie Minogue on it, it had like Alana Miles, Black Velvet, it had Jason Donovan. I mean, it was a real mismatch. I think the Lightning Seeds, all these songs were lumped onto this compilation album. And I remember getting to the end of side one, and I think that song was Tears on My Pillow by Kylie Minogue. But my life changed when I turned the vinyl over, and I remember putting it on side 2, track 1. And when I dropped that needle, the opening chords to Enjoy the Silence played. And my life has never been the same. I know it sounds dramatic, but my lights just went on. And I was like, oh my God, I'm fully engaged. Up until that point, I liked music, but it was when I heard Enjoy the Silence for the first time that my lights came on. And that is what really got me into Depeche Mode. I then studied 101. I then bought this album, and I will never forget hearing this album for the first time when I dropped the needle. I was very nervous when I put it on, and I heard the first track being World in My Eyes. Just that bum 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 dish 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 dum dum dum. The way it comes in on the offbeat, and yeah, I can absolutely lose myself in this. But there's a lot I can say. If you are a member of my YouTube channel, and if you're not, I would like to do some shameless self-promotion and let you know that my channel, the Vaughan George channel, I'm very proud of the fact that we have been running a very, very in-depth Depeche Mode album review series, which I'm told is the most in-depth Depeche Mode album review series ever conducted by an independent YouTuber. So do go and join me there. There is a lot I can say about this album, and as I say in my album review series, I've just finished the Music for the Masses album review series, and I will be starting with the Violator album review series, which is going to be a lot of work because I want to cover it in a lot of detail. But this album, as I say, the more you scratch into it and the deeper you go, the more you figure there are so many levels. And I've heard this album so many times, but I can hear something new every time I listen to it. And I really would rate this as an absolute masterpiece and an absolute must-have for any electronic music lover. Well, that's it, guys. Special shout out to Mark and Andy. Guys, thank you very much for inviting me onto your channel. And to you in the electronic cafe community. Do support Mark and Andy. I think they're doing a great job. Thank you, my friends. I will see you on a video soon. Adios.
Painful to me, it's right through me. Don't you understand? Oh, my little girl. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary. They can only...
Thanks again for watching the Electronic Cafe and for your continued support. Thank you, Vaughan George, for your hot stuff contribution this episode. Thanks, buddy, much appreciated. And do go and check out Vaughan's brilliant YouTube channel, Piano and Keyboard Artist. See you next time. Take care.
Vaughan, thanks for that really insightful look, mate, into an album that literally changed your life and being a guest reviewer on our show. Mark, amazing job on Alan Wilder, buddy. And everyone, I hope you liked some of the albums we recommended in our Hot Stuff section. Let us know what you're listening to. Let us know the albums we've recommended. If they're hitting the right chord with you, let me know. That'd be good to hear. I just want to say thank you for all the support ongoing. If you haven't subscribed to this channel or joined our Facebook community, please do so. And Mark and I look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Electronic Cafe. Stay safe. Bye for now.